Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we are doing a movie review of the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th. That's right, guys. I know I'm a little bit late to the party. This review probably would have been better coming out on Friday the 13th, which was only a few days ago. But screw it, we're going to do it anyway. Because on Friday the 13th, I watched the reboot again, and I actually enjoyed it. It's not perfect by any means, but I feel like it was a nice return to form for the franchise. But unfortunately, they never followed it up, which is kind of mind-boggling because it was the second most successful film in the franchise. So yeah, it's kind of a head-scratcher. Why didn't they continue it? You know, they could have started the whole franchise over again. You had an excellent Jason and Derek Mears. You had a solid cast, but, you know, most of them were throwaway, as are everyone in the Friday the 13th franchise. Everyone's expendable. The only character, really, that continued was Tommy Jarvis. Other than that, pretty much everyone else is fair game. Each one, you could start with a whole new cast of people for Jason to kill, you know? And that's what this was. There's actually two different groups of people that are picked off by Jason in this film. So, yeah, the film was directed by Marcus Nispel. And what happens is we get an intro, and we meet up with Pamela Voorhees, we know from the original 1980 film, who was Jason's mother, as we all know. And we see her on her killing spree a little bit, and we do see her trying to follow this one girl who happens to be the lone survivor, I guess, of the killing spree. And we also see Pamela Voorhees doing a little bit of narration, talking about how Jason drowned as a young boy and the camp counselors weren't paying any attention. And she tries to pick off this one last girl, but she gets her in the end. She takes the machete to her and lops her head right off, just like the original film in 1980. And then we cut to Jason as a young boy who apparently saw the whole thing. And that's where the film starts. And then we see Jason later on with the baghead sack, like in part 2. So yeah, pretty much this film is a combination of parts 1, 2, and 3. Because we see those various looks of Jason. We see him as a young boy, and then we see him as the sackhead Jason for a while, and then we see him with the iconic hockey mask eventually. Which is pretty cool. So it's definitely not a straight-up remake of the 1980 film. It's definitely a combination of the first 3 films, I would say. And it's definitely a lot more modern. It definitely looks like a much more modern take on the legacy of Friday the 13th. Which is a good thing. It was definitely updated for the new generation. And Jason looks absolutely awesome. And he's played so well by Derek Mears. I'd say he's downright athletic, you know, the way he sprints, you know. He's not a slow-moving Jason or stalking type of Jason by any means. This Jason is a hunter. At one point we see him with a bow and arrow and shit, you know. He's definitely like a survivalist. He knows how to survive in the woods, and you can tell he's been at it for years and years, and he knows exactly what to do, and how to hunt people, and hunt animals, and he definitely has no problem getting in touch with his prey. And so yeah, basically the plot is Jason finds this group of counselors on the lookout for some weed growing around Camp Crystal Lake. And, you know, they see it as a big gold mine, these dopey stoner teenagers, you know. And they're out gallivanting around, having sex, and this movie shows a lot of sex and nudity. Lots of nudity in this movie. I'd say it's the most nudity next to probably part 5, A New Beginning. And it's very gratuitous. and lots of weed smoking and dumb stoner people, stupid teenagers, and they all get picked off one by Jason in the woods at Camp Crystal Lake. And what happens is he sees this one girl by the name of Whitney, and so he lays waste to all the others, but he decides to save this one girl. And he throws her over his shoulder and takes her away, and we don't know what he's planning to do with her, you know. And apparently he takes her into this underground lair that he's built, you know, like this underground bunker. Which again leads to the survival. He's definitely the survivalist type, you know. He's built a whole underground, like, military-style bunker and stuff, which is a really cool, unique take on the Jason character, which I really enjoy. So definitely what they got right in this film was Jason, 100%. They nailed the look of him. I love how he's a real strong. I like how he's smart and conniving. And the way he sets up the booby traps for his victims is awesome. He's a brutal murderer, probably more brutal than ever, you know. And he's got the classic machete, of course. He throws an axe at one point. He like whips it at the dude and gets him right in the back, and he just does it to use the kid as bait to lure the rest of the counselors. So that's really interesting. So what happens at the beginning too is, as I said, when you first see Jason, he's got the this baghead mask, just like part 2, and there's one awesome kill scene where he he hangs this girl from the sleeping bag above the campfire, and she lights up, and you see her burn carcass fall out of the sleeping bag. It's brutal, awesome. So there's lots of awesome kills in this movie. And there's one scene where there's a girl skinny water skiing, topless, you know, and she falls off. Of course, she falls into the water. She falls off her skis, and then Jason ends up killing the dude who was driving the boat, and then the girl tries to hide underneath the pier. And you see Jason slowly stalking above the pier, and you're like, is he gonna see her? And then next thing you know, right through the pier, and then he lifts her head right up, just enough so you can see the boobs. Again, more gratuitous nudity, but it's an awesome kill. So yeah, Jason is brutal as all hell, and yeah, I love the fact that he's real quick. And I love the fact that he's a real hunter. This is an awesome, awesome Jason. I'd say Derek Mears is one of the best Jasons for sure in the entire franchise. So yeah, I was shocked at the beginning when you find out after like 20 minutes that was only the intro of the movie. The credits roll like 20 minutes later after he takes the girl Whitney away. And wow. You find out all this murder and mayhem and blood and gore took place, and that was just the beginning of the movie. So I think a lot of people are shocked by that, and I thought that was a really cool way to begin it. So then we meet Clay, who is played by Jared Padalecki, Clay Miller, and he's actually the brother of the girl Whitney, who Jason took away at the beginning, and who's holding captive in his underground lair. And he's got her like locked up in chains and stuff. And why is that? We find out because Jason thinks that he looks like Pamela Voorhees as a young girl. That's why he's keeping her, you know. He's keeping her as his little prize, I guess, you know, and to remind him about his mother. And at one point he when the girl Whitney tries to speak to him, he like flips out and throws a big tantrum, you know, and throws shit everywhere, you know. So this Jason is more human, definitely. He has emotion. He is a person. There is a man inside that monster. It's not just a soulless zombie like you see in some of the later Friday the 13th entries. This is definitely a more humanized Jason, but but still awesome. He's still a damn beast, you know. But yeah, throughout the movie, Clay is trying to get help, and on his search for his sister to get his sister back. And he meets up with this girl, Jenna, played by Danielle Panabaker, and she has a bunch of friends, so he tries to get in touch with them and see if they'll come help him find his sister. And so that's basically the main gist of the movie there. Throughout the movie, Clay and his friend Jenna trying to find his sister. And there is definitely a romantic interest between the two, even though Jenna has a boyfriend by the name of Trent, who is like the biggest dick I've ever seen. You know? I just want to choke the guy. I want to punch him right in the face. Like, he's such a jackass. And he looks like Tom Cruise, like probably Interview with the Vampire era Tom Cruise. And he's such a prick, you know. Definitely probably the biggest a-hole in the Friday the 13th franchise history. But I guess he did his job, you know. He really gets under his skin, you know. But yeah. But he messes around anyway. He's definitely not faithful to Jenna in any way. He sees this young, hot, blonde girl and screws her, and then we have more nudity. And, but yeah. The only actors I would say that are believable are the two main leads in the film, Jared Padalecki and Danielle Panabaker. They're the only ones that you believe and buy. And everyone else is just kind of cookie cutter, and, you know, they're just fodder for Jason to knock off, definitely. And that's the downside to me for this movie, is none of these characters are very interesting. They're just like, you know, your typical stoner kids, or, you know, they're just random cookie cutter characters like we've seen in previous Friday the 13th movies, which... that's a problem that's plagued the entire franchise for the whole time, you know, is that they don't have that many great characters other than, like, Tommy Jarvis, and, like, like I said, the two leads in this movie I buy into, and I enjoy following them, and I want to see them get away from Jason. I want to see him find his sister and get away. But anybody else in the movie is fair game. We don't give a damn about any of them. And definitely not compelling. They're very poorly acted, and that's the problem I have with the movie. Other than that, I think it's a really solid return to form for the franchise, and I think it was kind of a head scratcher that they didn't ever continue it. You know, that was back in 2009. Now here we are in 2018. There hasn't been any new film, and there are talks of a new film possibly coming out, but nothing is really moving on it, you know, so who knows if we'll ever get another Jason movie. So I'm thinking if Halloween, the new Halloween coming this October, does well, maybe then they'll get the ball rolling on a new Friday the 13th, but I think it's been too long since the 2009 reboot that at this point it's too late, you know. They're probably going to reboot it completely again, or have another remake or reimagining, whatever. But at any rate, we have Friday the 13th, 2009 as a nice little one-shot in the franchise. So yeah, as I said, the biggest plus in the movie is Jason, played by Derek Mears, 100%. He's an excellent Jason, and one of the best in the franchise, and it's sad that he doesn't get to play Jason again. But it is what it is, you know. At any rate, it makes a nice little entry in the franchise. It's a nice return to form, and it's a much more modern take on the franchise. And I enjoy it, you know. It's definitely flawed, but I do enjoy it. So, thank you folks for joining me, and this is the review of Friday the 13th from 2009, the reboot, directed by Marcus Nispel, starring Jared Padalecki and Danielle Panabaker. Again, it's produced by Michael Bay and Sean S. Cunningham. And thank you folks for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared.